American pop culture is dead. Okay, that's quite the statement, isn't it?
It definitely grabs your attention.
Yeah, it's from a YouTube video, Clownfish TV, reacting to an Atlantic article. And, maybe it sounds a bit extreme at first.
A little bit, yeah.
But I bet for some of you listening, it kind of rings true. That feeling that something in, movies, music, all that stuff, it just feels different.
Maybe.
All off.
It does seem to reflect a wider sentiment that's bubbling up.
Right. So for this deep dive, we're not just going to accept that headline. Our mission here is to really unpack the arguments. Why do they think this? What's actually changed?
And it's interesting. This isn't just random online chatter. The fact the Atlantic ran something that sparked this suggests is tapping into something, broader.
Yeah, exactly. A feeling that maybe the source of really new, really impactful pop culture is, maybe slowing down.
That seems to be the core concern, yeah.
Yeah.
That sense of stagnation.
And they backed it up, didn't they? They brought up a YouGov poll. Americans apparently rated the 2020s as the worst decade in 100 years.
100 years?
For music, movies, fashion, TV, even sports, across the board.
That's pretty staggering, actually. It's not just one area.
No. And the Clownfish TV guys, they were nodding along. They felt it too. Even suggested maybe this started earlier, like mid-2010s, maybe even before that.
It makes you wonder, is it a slow burn kind of thing?
Feels like it could be. We've been sort of treading water culturally. But what does it mean when so many areas are perceived negatively at the same time?
Well, that multi-front negativity, it suggests it's maybe not just, a few bad movies or songs. Mm-hmm. It could point to something more fundamental.
A whole system.
Perhaps the conditions that used to really foster that vibrant pop culture, maybe those conditions have shifted significantly.
Okay, so one of the big reasons they talked about was losing shared cultural moments. Remember, before streaming took over everything.
Oh, yeah, appointment television.
Exactly. Everyone watched the same show, heard the same song on the radio. Yeah. You actually had stuff to talk about the next day. Those water cooler moments.
Right, common ground.
What's the real impact of losing that, do you think? Is it just less office chat?
I think it's maybe deeper than that. Those shared things, they contribute to a kind of collective identity, right? Even just knowing everyone gets the reference.
Like a shared language.
Exactly. And when media gets so fragmented, those big unifying things just get rarer. It could subtly affect how connected we feel as a society.
Yeah, that makes sense. Now you've got infinite choice with streaming, which is great in one way.
But overwhelming in another.
Right. And it means the chance of you and your neighbor watching the same thing at the same time is way lower. But interestingly, the video mentioned Gen Z. They seem to almost want that shared stuff back.
Oh, how so?
They talked about malls making a comeback or this huge interest in 80s and 90s trends.
So maybe a reaction against that hyper-personalized online world.
Could be. Trying to grab onto something that feels more communal, even if it's, a slightly rose-tinted view of the past.
It's a tough thing to recreate authentically, though, those organic shared moments in today's media world. The video kind of hinted at that.
Yeah. And that ties into their other big point, this endless cycle of rehashing.
The reboots and remakes.
Constantly. They said we're stuck just getting these two versions of the 80s or 90s done poorly.
Okay, two versions, that's pretty blunt. But you see their point.
Totally. Why is everything just recycled?
Well, from the studio side, using existing IP, intellectual property, it feels safer. Right? There's already an audience, brand recognition.
Less risk.
Supposedly. But focusing only on that known quantity, it can stifle putting money and effort into genuinely new ideas, creates a bottleneck.
They even said 80s music gets more airplay now than it did in the 80s. Like the Eurythmics, Michael Jackson, Madonna.
You do hear them a lot still.
It's like the cultural soundtrack is stuck. What does that even mean? Is current music just not hitting the same way?
It could be a mix of things. Maybe current stuff isn't cutting through as broadly. Or maybe radio and streaming playlists are just playing it safe, relying on guaranteed hits.
Or maybe the old stuff was just that good.
That's always possible too. But it definitely raises questions about where popular music is going culturally.
And they used Monster High as an example of how fast things get rehashed now.
Right. That wasn't even that old to begin with, was it?
No. And suddenly it's back with a modern spin. It feels like nothing gets a chance to just be before it's being reimagined.
Yeah, it can feel a bit like cultural cannibalism sometimes. It risks diluting the original, and maybe audiences just get tired of seeing the same framework again and again.
Especially if the new version isn't great. It suggests, maybe, a lack of confidence in creating new, lasting things.
That can be part of it.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. The internet and globalization. The video had this interesting, kind of paradoxical idea that the internet, because it gives us instant access to everything from the past, it might actually be killing creativity.
How so? The argument being,
Like, why bother making something totally new when the entire library of human culture is just there? Click away.
that is a paradox. Because you'd think access to inspiration would fuel creativity.
Right.
But maybe the sheer volume is overwhelming. Like, the pressure to be truly original feels impossible, so it's easier to just remix what's already there.
Yeah. Like, we're all just curators now, not creators. They even mentioned Ready Player One.
Yeah. The ultimate nostalgia fest.
Exactly. Is that where we're headed? Just constantly referencing and mashing up the past.
It's a compelling comparison. I mean, there's artistry in remixing, for sure. But it does make you ask, where are the completely new stories, the new cultural benchmarks coming from?
And this changes how we consume stuff, too. They pointed out, you used to have to be there, catch the movie in the cinema, hear the song when it played.
Right. It was time-bound, an event.
Now, everything's on demand, whenever you want. How has that changed our relationship with pop culture?
Well, it's definitely shifted from being often communal and scheduled to being very individual whenever. That shared buzz, that immediate reaction everyone has together, that's lessened.
Yeah, you lose that sense of experiencing it collectively in real time.
Convenience is great, but maybe something is lost in the trade-off.
And how we connect over it has changed, too. The video mentioned, talking about last night's episode at work or the new album at school, face-to-face stuff.
The actual water cooler.
Right. Now, maybe we're connected online in forums or whatever, but there's this sense of feeling, lonelier, less common ground.
Digital communities are real, definitely, but they're different from those everyday, maybe more casual in-person chats about shared culture. That kind of social glue might work differently online. It can feel broader, but maybe less deep sometimes.
Okay, but it wasn't all doom and gloom. They did toss out a couple of potential counterpoints, right? Like Minecraft.
Yes, as maybe a modern touchstone.
Yeah, something huge that lots of younger people especially share. What makes that different?
Well, Minecraft is interesting. It's both creative and shared. You build your own thing, but within this massive shared world and community.
So it taps into both individuality and community.
Exactly. Its staying power suggests people do still crave those shared spaces, even if they look a bit different now.
And they mentioned the pandemic, too. How that just threw a huge wrench into the 2020s.
Oh, absolutely.
Paused everything, maybe overshadowed new trends that were starting to emerge. They brought up stuff like those pandemic commercials or Tiger King.
Right. Things that were huge in the moment, very specific to that time.
But maybe not culturally lasting in the same.
It's plausible. The pandemic definitely disrupted everything, production, creativity, just the collective mood. It might have pressed pause on cultural evolution for a bit. Hard to say how long those effects linger, though.
Then there's the whole nostalgia thing again. The video pointed out how younger generations experiencing, say, the 80s or 90s now.
Yeah.
Different.
Zipping hand. Filtered through today's lens.
Yeah, like a curated version without the actual lived experience and context. What does that do?
It can lead to a kind of flattened, maybe idealized view of the past.
Yeah.
And while borrowing from the past can be cool and inspiring.
If that's all that's happening.
Right. If it's just constant borrowing without adding much new, does it eventually just stifle the creation of culture that speaks to now and the future? It becomes more about repetition than innovation.
Okay, so the video kind of wrapped up with this slightly dark thought, referencing the idea that the death of creativity can signal the death of a civilization.
Oh, okay. That's heavy.
Yeah. Then they made a joke about, terrible movies and comics predicting the fall of empires. A bit tongue-in-cheek, maybe.
Hopefully.
But it does make you think, doesn't it?
Yeah.
About the overall health of our culture.
It definitely taps into that feeling. I mean, maybe it's a bit dramatic, but it highlights how a vibrant, evolving culture is often seen as reflecting a dynamic society. So if creativity feels stuck, it's natural to wonder what that means more broadly.
So, okay, let's try and wrap this deep dive up. We've been digging into this idea, American pop culture is dead, sparked by that Clownfish TV video and the Atlantic piece. And it really seems like there is a strong feeling out there that something's shifted.
Yeah, we've touched on a lot. The loss of those big shared moments, the endless recycling of old ideas and IP.
The weird effect of the internet, giving us everything, how we consume things differently now, pandemic's shadow.
And this massive wave of nostalgia, especially the secondhand kind.
Right. So it leaves you, the listener, with a pretty big question to chew on, I think.
Which is?
In this world where, all of cultural history is instantly available, what actually defines our culture right now?
Are we just in a lull, waiting for the next big creative wave to hit?
Or has the whole game changed? Has pop culture itself fundamentally shifted because of the internet, because of how we live now?
It's definitely something to think about. How do you engage with culture now compared to, say, 10 or 20 years ago? What feels truly new and exciting to you?
Yeah, lots to consider there.